Hey, it's Athena at Gluten-Freeology, where I make gluten-free versions of your favorite comfort foods and some healthy stuff too. Hi, it's Athena, and today I am here to share with you a delicious meal that I have made. It is black-eyed pea salad, collard greens, fried mackerel, and baked sweet potato. It is absolutely delicious. I've got it covered right now because I would hate for a fly to ruin my delicious meal. But this episode is going to be a little bit different from some of my usual content because I'm sharing the new connection that I made just last year. We recently visited National Harbor, Maryland, where we decided to take our new cousin. That's right. Last year, I found out after researching my family history that I had a bunch of cousins that I never knew existed. So while she was here, we decided to visit the National Museum of African American History and Culture. This is what I consider to be a must-visit museum. A lot of the subject matter is very heavy and sad. However, I think African American history is American history, and it's really important to learn, especially during these times. We were even able to record a video diary of how we found our new cousin. We even stopped at a cafe where I had vegan greens and a black-eyed pea salad, which was the inspiration for the food I cooked in this video. So to start, you want to inspect your collard green leaves and remove the stems. I'm making mine vegan, just like at the cafe at the museum. And you want to make sure you check for any creepy crawlies, otherwise you will have extra unwanted protein in your greens. Also, I clean my greens in a solution of water and vinegar, and I rinse it 3 times thoroughly, just making sure I get all of the dirt and bugs off. And you can't have greens without making some type of pickled vegetable to go on top of it. You don't have to take the skin of the cucumber off, but I'm just doing it because that's the way my mom always did it. So you want to slice up your cucumbers, a little bit of onion, mix them together in a bowl, and then cover it with some vinegar and season it with salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder, and set it in the refrigerator to chill until you're ready to eat. Now I'm dicing up the flavor base for my collard greens. I'm using a small onion, finely chopped and diced, and also 1 whole bell pepper along with some garlic. So all you do is thinly slice them into strips, cut those strips into cubes, and then you add it to a pot with a little drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, and you season it up and let it cook for about 10 minutes while you work on your greens. So while this cooks on the stove for about 10 minutes, you want to go ahead and slice up your collard greens however you see fit. I'm cutting mine into strips about the length of my palm. Just keep in mind that collard greens do shrink when you cook them, so they're not gonna be as big as it looks right now. You want to add in a drizzle of liquid smoke, a little bit more of the seasoning minus the chili flakes, and about a cup and a half of water, and you want to cook it on medium heat for about 30 minutes and then reduce it down to low and let it cook for about an hour and a half. Now for the black-eyed pea salad. I did cheat. I am using canned black-eyed peas. You want to cut up some scallions. I'm using fire roasted red bell peppers that I bought in a jar, and some fresh garlic and a couple of Roma tomatoes. Once you give that a good mix, you want to season your black-eyed pea salad with similar seasoning that you used on the greens. I'm using black pepper. I skipped the salt, onion and garlic powder, smoked paprika, extra virgin olive oil, and apple cider vinegar. And you just want to chill that in the fridge until you're ready to eat. So here's how I ended up discovering new cousins. U.S. Census Records, 1870, Talbot County, Georgia. I found my oldest paternal relatives after a year of searching historical records on FamilySearch.org. Benjamin and Letty McQuarrie live with their children Samuel, William, Eddie, and Monroe, my great-great-grandfather. 10 years later, the family became separated. U.S. Census Records, 1880, Talbot County, Georgia, line 41. Letty McQuarrie, age 35, lives with her son Monroe, age 9, along with her brother-in-law and his family. I had no idea about this census record or the next one until after I met my new cousins. U.S. Census Records, 1880, Talbot County, Georgia, lines 105 through 106. Stephen Dixon, white male, age 69, lives with his sister and her 3 adult children and their servant, Samuel McQuarrie, age 13, my great-great-uncle. Samuel eventually decided to leave Georgia and started a new life in North Carolina. And I was able to trace my paternal relatives all the way back to the 1870 U.S. Census records from using FamilySearch.org, and before that I had signed up for a genealogy website, and just last year, even though I had been on the site for years, a woman messaged me because she thought that we might be related, and we sent emails back and forth and comparing names, and because her last name is not spelled the same way as mine, I thought that maybe we weren't related, but the fact that she messaged me through a DNA site, it should have dawned like, hello. So anyway, we spoke on the phone last year and we talked for hours. It was as if we had known each other forever, and just this year our families met in person for the first time on Easter, and we got along so well that we ended up getting invited to their family reunion, which happened a couple of months ago, and it was such a great time. So my new cousin, one of my new cousins that I met, ended up coming up to visit, and we decided to show her some of the sites. And so this is a little bit of that experience. Thanks for watching. What has been painfully obvious from researching my family history is that slavery didn't really end in 1865. For lack of a better word, my new cousin explained that her great-grandfather, Samuel McQuarrie, was being leased out to a white family, which is why he was no longer living with his mother. And I've known the majority of my life that being free does not equal equality. And to see what's happening with our civil rights today, we have a long way to go. Sweet potatoes is one of those things that I think it is impossible to mess up. You can do a lot with it, but this recipe is super easy. All you do is poke holes in it, bake it at 375 for an hour, let it cool down for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then you want to put some slits in it just to get deep down, and then you want to spatter it with some butter. I might have went overboard. And then once you're satisfied with the amount of butter, you want to go in and top it with some brown sugar. Place it back in the oven at 375 for about another 40 minutes uncovered. And then you've got these absolutely delicious, soft, buttery, delicious sweet potatoes ready to enjoy. So I had these greens cooking on the stove for almost an hour and 40 minutes, but then I turned it off but let it sit on the heat. Just as long as they're not crunchy, they're good to go, and this is what they should look like. If fish guts grosses you out, you should skip because that's what's coming up. I bought these frozen mackerel from the International grocery store, and if you don't know, mackerel is very big in Asian cultures, and I really enjoyed being able to eat fresh mackerel when I was in South Korea, and I often shared with my students that mackerel is also a big part of African American soul food. So I was a little bit disappointed because they literally just took these fish and froze them. They were not scaled. The guts were still inside. I had to remove the fins, and these fish were so small. I really didn't know what I was doing, but after all of that complaining, once I ate it, this fish tasted so good, so I would absolutely buy it again. I tried to move as much of the bones as possible, but mackerel is a bony fish, and my mother said I didn't know what I was doing, so she's gonna show me next time. So anyway, if you've seen my channel, you know that I love frying up fish. I didn't add any hot sauce to the wet batter or any buttermilk this time because at this point I was just tired after cleaning and scaling the fish. So you mix an egg with some gluten-free Worcestershire sauce. I'm using all-purpose gluten-free flour along with some Creole seasoning, onion and garlic powder, and some smoked paprika. And then I soaked the mackerel in the wet batter and went and cleaned up some dishes for about 10 minutes before I dipped it in the flour. And so after you let your fish marinate for a little bit, you make sure it's thoroughly coated, dipping off or shaking off the excess flour. And then you just go ahead and shallow pan fry it. These were really small fish, so they only needed about 2 minutes per side. I think I overdid it on the first side, but just 2 minutes per side, just enough to get the flour cooked. And you can serve it up with whatever you like. If you like tartar sauce, you could do that. I prefer hot sauce. And of course, you just babysit it just so that you're not overcooking it, and reduce it to like medium low, just so that the oil doesn't get too hot. And then once they're done, place them on a paper towel, and you've got delicious fried mackerel ready to enjoy. Thanks again for listening to me share the story of how I found my new cousins. And as you know, food is my love language, so I hope you will try some of these recipes because they are absolutely delicious.